There we go. Welcome to Buyer's Remorse. I'm Darren.
I'm Justin.
And in this show, we subject each other to games that are already in our libraries that we've bought, usually through bundles and just tossed aside, and then we dig them up to...
I don't know that we've tossed them aside.
Well, they have been. Like, half these games I don't even know that I've got, man. You're like, oh, play Elf. Like, what the hell is that? I don't even know what that is.
True, but I don't know that we've tossed them aside. It's more just they've...
been forgotten.
Yeah.
Poor games. And maybe for good reason. So, I can't remember what I picked for you. What was it?
Well, you tried to get me to play The Void.
Oh, I wanted you to play The Void, that's right.
But you said it didn't work on your computer. It also seems to not be working on my computer. I tried multiple things. The only thing that people are suggesting now is going into the code and changing some of the code, and I'm not really about that life.
Yeah, I'd be scared I'd screw something up.
I'm not worried too much because I think if you go into the code for the game, I think the worst thing you can do is then just uninstall it, reinstall it. So I'm not that concerned. It was just this week I didn't have time to mess around going that deep into anything. So you had a second choice if it didn't work, which was a previous game they had made called Pathologic.
Ah, that's right, yeah.
Which the version I have is Pathologic Classic HD. I believe there's a new Pathologic game coming out soon.
Yep.
As a recording of this now. So the developers are Ice Pick Lodge. For Pathologic, there's also another one called General Arcade. Publisher is Good Shepherd Entertainment. It's $14 at its base, so it's not too expensive. It will say on Steam that it was published in 2015, but really it was originally published in 2005. So this is going back a fair bit. It has very positive reviews, though, 847 so far, on a game that is essentially 14, 15 years old. Have you played Pathologic?
Yep.
Have you played it to completion?
No, it's quite hard.
Yes. Yes, it is. When you fire up the game, there's scrolling text that plays and speaks of a plague that is taking the best or the most valuable out of the world. And there's a cutscene with 4 kids who are, I don't know, they look like they're in a trance. And they're carrying this giant doll, this patchwork doll, which they're burying in a grave. And that's it. I don't know what this has to do with the game. Remember, I only played for an hour, and I didn't get very far, so maybe there's a lot to the story I'm missing out on. In the menu screen, you're basically just looking at a man's back, and he's holding a scalpel, and you start the game. Do you remember what this game's like when you start?
You're in like some kind of amphitheater kind of thing. There's 3 guys talking below you, and you have to choose one of them as a character to play. Yeah,
there's 2 men and a woman, and they're arguing. It sounds like who should do something important. I had no idea what was going on at this point.
I didn't either.
I thought I was meant to eavesdrop on them, and that eventually I'd get a cutscene. So I probably sat here watching them just talk and waste my time for about 5 minutes going, whoa, is anything going to happen? Before I realized, oh, I'm actually playing the game now. So yeah, I had to run all the way around the balcony level of this amphitheater to click on a door to choose one of the 3 people who are down in the amphitheater. There is the Bachelor, Haruspex, and a Changeling. Now, the Changeling is locked, so you can't play as her. Haruspex says something about him being from a family of butchers, but they feel they're surgeons. They can tell about the universe by the way people's insides are laid out. It's a really weird description. The character is described as a person who's eager to rip a doomed life apart, trying to find true purpose. The Bachelor is a character who needs to bite the bullet and accept losses, a story of a person who has worked a miracle to defeat a seemingly unvanquishable foe, which is odd because I'm going to get into that now. Because I chose the Bachelor, he's on the left.
Okay.
You get another scrolling bit of text and voiceover that talks about Danny Darkovsky, who questions morality, someone who may have proof of this longevity is a woman called Eva Yan, who apparently he met the night before and is still there today. You basically get a cutscene of the Bachelor walking, holding his case, and there are a lot of faces that look up at the camera, but you don't know who any of these people are or what's going on. It's a very odd way to set up the beginning of the game. When you actually start playing again, you're in a tiny room, and there's a bit of text that says you're here to see Simon Kane, who's a man of rare longevity. So his old life could prove a bit of help in this quest against mortality. I have no idea what to do in this room.
Yeah.
I spent a long time in this room. I was able to look into a microscope, but there was nothing on the microscope. It was just a blank green circle.
Probably something for later.
There has to be a lot for later because there was nothing in what I did. I spent ages walking around this room trying to click on stuff. I was using controller. So for a long time, I thought maybe the controller's the issue. So I switched over to keyboard and mouse, and I still wasn't able to interact with a whole lot of things. So I thought I was still making a mistake. So I exited the game, started it back up using only keyboard and mouse to see if that would change anything. But no, there are open books I can't read. There are lights I can't turn on. In my inventory, I found drugs that I could take, which made my character feel better, apparently, according to the stats. But I didn't know what I was doing, and I knew that I had just wasted them, and I'd have to restart the game. There were gloves. There's some sort of kerosene for a lamp, which I'm not sure if I'm holding the lamp or if there's a lamp in the room I'm supposed to be lighting. So I went for a while trying to find a lamp that I could light. I don't know what to do in this room. I really don't. And I felt like I clicked on everything. I tried sleeping for 6 hours. That didn't seem to change anything. I just don't know. I have no idea what to do with this. So the only way that I would know what to do is I would have to look it up and have to find a walkthrough. And I didn't want to do that in my hour. So I thought the best thing would be to exit the game and start over as the Harrispecs so I could see what in the world was going on there. I will say this, certainly much easier to get into his story than to get into the Bachelor story. Because at least when you start with the Harrispec story, you start with something you can understand.
Right. I think that's who I started with as well.
So as you start with the Harrispecs, the character's name is Artemy Barak. You are a character born into privilege to be able to study bodies in surgery. And his father is dying, so he has to return. There's a whole thing about the will. And as you get into the game, you're immediately jumped in a cutscene. So all your stats are near zero, which is really annoying. This is a terrible way to start the game. But I will say this about it. At least in this one, you have two weird characters called executors who look like giant birds, or they're people with a giant bird mask on, and you get to talk to them and ask them a bunch of questions. They basically give you a lot of exposition to explain to you exactly how you're supposed to be playing.
Yeah.
And that helped a lot. I would have liked anything, maybe an open book I could read in the other one to give me some sort of understanding.
Yeah, those two guys, are they in the kind of park at the back of the house? Like it's a fenced off area and they're sitting around a fire?
No.
Did you find those guys?
No.
Ah, okay. Because
that's probably much further in the game than I actually got. I was in a train yard.
Okay.
So there are a few train cars, but you can't, at least the ones I tried to get into, I couldn't get into. No. What happens is, after talking to them, and they talk about a whole lot of stuff, there's a lot of exposition here, most of my time was probably spent reading or trying to figure out what's going on. I have to be worried about my reputation because somebody important was killed. So who I thought were thugs in the cutscene were actually just everyday citizens, but because of this terrible murder, and they think that for some reason Artemy did it, now I, as the player, have to deal with having near zero stats and the fact that everybody wants to kill me.
Yeah, fun times.
And in fact, after I got all the information I could get out of them, and some of it's helpful, but some of it's not really. They say, I need bandages. Perhaps I can get some bandages if I trade with kids. I can trade pretty much anything with kids to get important stuff. Or water for people who are basically hungover. Because they'll do almost anything for water. But I need to get a bottle to put it in.
Yeah.
Which I don't have. I have nothing. So I tried walking away, and nearby there are 4 guys standing around a fire. So I tried to sneak past them, but that's impossible because it leads into a cutscene where they chase you and you jump over a fence. This leads you into a warehouse where there are essentially, it looks like 3 kids staring at you, but you can't talk to them. You can only talk to the one who's kind of partially hidden behind a wall. And you talk to this kid. This kid is Notkin.
Okay.
He's
I don't remember any of this, man.
He's apparently a leader of some gang. He talks about Lika who stole something from them. Smoocher? I don't know. I can't read my handwriting, and it was a word that made no sense anyway.
Smoocher.
That would be much better. No, but it's some sort of powerful medicine or poison, which they were using to taste to learn the difference between what is super healing and super death.
Okay, so poison tasters.
He offers a gun to go and kill Lika for them, which at this point, I was like, sure, why not?
Yeah, I'll just become a murderer.
I didn't see it in my inventory, though, so I don't know what I was doing wrong. Maybe I can only use the gun when I find this guy?
Because otherwise you could just run around that town shooting everybody.
Boy, that would be nice. Because as soon as I left this place, I ended up getting into a fist fight with somebody. He punched me 3 times, and I died. And I had to start all over again.
As the Bachelor.
Well, I didn't start as the Bachelor. I started again as the Harrispex because I was not going back into the Bachelor room at this point. So I got out. I didn't talk to the executors again because I already done that. I walked off the totally different direction, tried to get onto some of the train cars. I got into a swampy area. I saw some sort of weird conveyor. I don't know, it's kind of like a string system that you could...
A pulley?
Yeah, you kind of, like an old laundry idea. But in this one, they were just giant bags, but I couldn't interact with them. So I don't know what that was about or what it was for. I eventually hit a point where it sent me back to the cutscene, and I ended up having to talk to Notkin again.
Okay.
As at this point, I do want to say that all of the characters, as you're talking to them, they've taken a picture of a real person, and they've put it next to the text. But when you look at that real person next to the horrible way they've tried to reconfigure them in the digital world, it just makes the characters who already look kind of creepy just so much worse.
That's probably the point, isn't it?
Like this Notkin kid, like the real life picture, he looks fairly normal, he's got a smile. But when you look at the digital one, it looks like he's scowling, he looks like he's kind of midway between pain and disgust. I don't know. The whole expression on his face makes no sense to me, especially given what we're talking about. I don't know. I found that to make it extra creepy. So I go through the whole talk again. Yes, I'm going to go find Lika. I get out. I'm not going to go the same way because I'm not going to get in a fist fight with that guy.
Yep.
So I made it into a different warehouse section, which looks almost exactly the same. And I end up getting into a fight with a different guy.
Did you die again?
So I died again. And that's the end of the hour.
Oh, man.
This is another game where an hour just isn't enough. It's a shame because I really feel like most of the time, if you can't get into a game within an hour, you've lost your audience. It has such high ratings, though.
But that's what I'm going to say. Do you feel that way about this? Like, do you think you'd go back and play it, though, now that you've had a shot for an hour and you think it requires more than just the hour?
It certainly does. I think if I was to play the Bachelor thing, I would have to at least read a walkthrough for that first
I don't know
term.
what the problem with the reason I don't remember the Doctor is because I played the Bachelor, I think, or mostly played the Bachelor, because I probably got to that place where you're at now, getting killed over and over again. I went, right, balls to this. I'll play as the Bachelor. There's a door, right? You know how it's like a cylindrical room that you're in? There's a door inside that goes down the inside of that middle part. You go down and you meet the woman from last night.
Okay, well, I'm not even...
Because I missed that. There's a door and you kind of... It's what next.
I walked around the room so much.
Yeah, because it's not on the outside. It's where you would expect it. It's on the inside. It's in the middle pole part of that room. So you open a door and then there's a spiral staircase.
Does it look
down.
like a door?
Not really. I mean, yeah, it does look like a door, but it's kind of blended in. So it's you could miss it. I could see how you would miss it.
I clearly did miss it.
Because you go down there, you speak to the woman, and then you go off to find Kane, and you go outside. That's what I'm saying. I met those bird guys around a fire, and I pissed one of them off, and they beat the shit out of me, and I died. I was like, right, okay. I won't go near them again.
Well, I'll keep that in mind. I won't irritate them when I meet them.
Just don't talk to anyone, man. If it's a cutscene, fair enough. It seems like the rule. Just avoid everyone in this game.
It sounds like there's a lot going on. The executors spoke of there being special people in the world, around 30, that you need to talk to, and there's a balance, and you need to decide. I think a lot of times you need to decide between two people. One of them has to go.
Right.
They made some reference to the fact that the two couldn't survive in the same world. So I see that there's a lot more going on here. Graphics-wise, wow. I mean, even 2005, this seems... Graphics-wise, I mean, even 2005, this seems not the best. But if the story works and if the gameplay works, then I could. The fighting, though, if the fighting is going to become a regular issue, I don't know that I would play for very long because it didn't seem to work very well, and I died very, very easily.
The reason I wanted you to play The Void is because it's a lot like this game, but it's got some similar issues, especially with fighting. You die a lot in that game. You just die automatically in The Void as well. If you're idle or if you're looking around at stuff, you can just drop dead because there's like a timer bar on it as well that you got to get through stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's a good game. I like these games. I like Icepick Lodge games. I think they're from Poland. I think they're a Polish company. Yeah, they just do really weird stuff. Well, that's why I think the positive reviews are coming from, because they're doing something different, you know? It's definitely intriguing, this world, yeah? It's interesting, but yeah, their games are notoriously difficult. That's the problem.
As far as tags, I would say creepy.
Yep.
Story rich. I mean, I didn't really get into it, but I can see that there must be more to it than what I got into. And bad fighting, because that was a nightmare. I shouldn't die from the very first fight, and I shouldn't die so easily.
Yeah. Well, I suppose it's just to teach you to avoid conflict wherever you can, I suppose.
But you've not finished this game?
No. I think I gave up on it. I got sidetracked with something else. I should go back to it. Will you, though?
There's a good chance I will. I think I would definitely recommend that you play it.
Yeah.
I think if you were playing at the same time and we could help guide each other through, that would make a big difference. For example, if I had been able to send you a message saying, I'm stuck in this room, and you said, there's actually a door.
Right, yeah.
Because I just had no idea what I was doing at all. As far as recommending to people to play, I saw one review that said they had put over 140 hours into the game.
What? Wow.
I hope it doesn't take that long. But if we're going by our $1 per hour, I think this game, especially since you play as 3 different characters and it looks like
3 different stories.
3 different stories, because you don't even start in the same place, that is going to make the value worth it. I think, though, you could definitely get this one on sale. It's old enough. And with Pathologic 2 coming out, it might be a good time to get in and see if that's even something that would interest you. I don't think you have to play too long to realize whether this game would interest you or not. I think if you're totally put off by the beginning, then you probably aren't going to keep going. I'm a bit intrigued, so I will keep playing. I don't know for how long, though.
So, Buyer's Remorse or Confirmation?
This is a tough one because the first hour is terrible. It's really terrible. This is miserable. I didn't really feel like I got to do anything. This would be 5 minutes in any other game. There's not really a tutorial. There's just a lot of exposition and text to tell you. The first hour is not good. And I should say Remorse. The thing is, I tend to save Remorse for things that I definitely don't want to play again. And even when I was quitting after the hour, I was tempted to keep going to see if I couldn't figure something else out. So I'm intrigued. So at this point, I'm going to say Confirmation.
Buyer's Confirmation.
Ding.
Darren is going to talk about the game Pushover.
Yeah.
Your character is...
I think you're an ant. Yeah, you're an ant. So the dominoes must be pretty small. Or you're giant.
Giant mutated ant.
The story is corporate, what do you call it? Product placement. Because as soon as you... Do you know what a quaver is?
No.
As soon as you start this game up, it starts out with a Quavers advert.
Oh, but yeah, in the hour you might not have gotten to the end.
Oh, I got to the end.
Did you? Okay.
Kind of. So far, the nostalgia bomb is going off, and it's good times. Alt-tab out to find the guides. Oh, there's no guides because no one has written a guide for this because no one's played it apart from me. Thanks, Justin.
Clearly, this is your opportunity.
It's my calling to write a guide for a 20-year-old, probably 30. I don't know how old this game is.
All this and more in the next episode of Buyer's Remorse.
To end this episode, we'd like to play a segment that, at least for now, we're going to refer to as Beggar's Remorse, though that may be a bit harsh to the nice people who have volunteered to help us out. Essentially, what we're trying to do is give some less desirable keys away to some of our fans and let them tell us what they think after their hour of play. So, what do we have up first?
What game was this? This was Endless Fun, The Battle for Peanuts.
And who sent this in?
So this is from Kemo. Kemo is just a friend of mine on Steam. He does a lot of reviews himself, so he's no stranger to playing through a lot of good and bad games. But this one, he starts off by saying, "Thanks again for this utterly awful game."
What a great way to start.
Yeah. So here we go. This is what he said. "Thanks again for this utterly awful game. I played it so you don't have to. You're welcome. Endless Fun, The Battle for Peanuts is an absolute trash tier game developed by Halunazi Games." Yeah, there's a good title for your company. "Supposedly, it's a top-down shooter, but I spent my time in-game pooping in people's houses, listening to the most amateur voice acting I've ever heard, and stealing wallets off the street. All in the name of peanuts, apparently. Who knows? One of my greatest regrets in life will be wasting my time playing this game."
He did say pooping in people's houses?
Yeah, that's actually in the trailer in the game.
I'm curious how that gets you peanuts, but okay.
Well, peanuts always come out, don't they? Positives. And then he just put lol as if. And then negatives, there's like 4 paragraphs. Negatives. This game is so bad, I honestly don't know what to say or how to say it. There's nothing good about this game. Nothing. Capital letters. I'll just list some of the truly awful things on offer in this quote-unquote game. The first mission tasks you with pooping in a random house without getting caught. There's a sound effect for pooping, one of the very few in the game. That's just a 2-second loop of the developer making fart sounds. The best part, this is hilarious, you can hear the click of his mouse when he starts and stops his recording.
This sounds like the type of game you and I would develop. Yeah.
So the translations to English are absolutely abysmal. Clearly it was run through a translator, but I can only imagine that it was a translator that purposely wanted to be worse than Google Translate. It's such broken English, much of it makes very little sense. I doubt I'm missing much by not being able to understand it though. Apart from walking around, at a snail's pace, might I add, you do almost nothing. I mean, sure, you can hold down a button in the first mission for 30 whole seconds to poop, or you can walk over purses to steal them in the second mission, but that's the extent of your interaction with the game. I was expecting some crappy top-down shooter gameplay at some point, but you don't even get that much. The verdict. There's no reason to play this game. Any time you put into this is time you could be spending doing literally anything else. You'll have more fun hitting your head against the wall. I cannot overemphasize how bad this game is.
Thank you, Kemo.
Thanks, Kemo.